question that we have here is, what are some Zoom etiquette tips coaches should keep in mind?
Yeah, that's like coaching etiquette when they're on a like when you're on a call, like when you're being okay. So let's break it down. When you're on a call, like, and then also when you're on one-on-one with people, or when you're doing an interview and things like that. I think the best thing, what I've seen, are people who have really good sound. I love my sound. You got good sound. I feel like if you have good sound, that goes a really far way to good sound and good lighting, or basics. And then you have just like the usual things like don't drive, don't have distracting noises or sounds. If a kid comes in the room, it's okay. Like like there's some general that's it. I'll stop there. Yeah, I'll stop there.
I think in the kind of environment and background. I notice, is that a new picture behind you, by the way? It looks lovely with all the purples and blues.
It is. It's one of those ones that you can put an image, so I can change it up when I want to. I know. I know.
That's very cool.
It's
Okay, so John likes to take it to the next level with his sound and his fancy video and nice images.
I've been doing this full time since 2017. So we were zooming before people knew what Zoom was, and the idea. I mean, it's your office, right? And so I think a general guideline is I would approach your Zoom environment with the same level of professionalism as you want people to see you. And uh, it's like when we travel with the family, we go to airports. Like our boys, they're 3 and 6. They wear blazers. Like we call it dress fancy. Like they dress up. They just get treated better when they're dressed up. So it's like that on Zoom. Like there was a period of time when, as an experiment, this is back in 2016, 2015, when I was leading a lot of classes. And for 2 weeks, I decided to do an experiment where I would show up in a t-shirt and lead my classes from a t-shirt, try out like let's call it rugged mountain biker brand. Where it's like, all right, I'll just show up like whatever. If I have mud on my glasses, so be it. Just be like authentic, whatever, that person. And I realized after the 2 weeks, I was so exhausted. I was so much more tired than I usually was because I had to put in so much more energy to get I don't know, maintain energetic control of the training. Then I switched the next 2 weeks to wearing, a white starch shirt with a blazer, and it was a complete opposite. It was like you have instant, you have instant respect, instant credibility when you dress like that. But then I think you also, it might take away a little bit of the friendliness aspect of it, or, it might be a little too much in different times. Or I would get on calls and people go, oh, like I didn't realize there was like, they have a comment about them, they go self-conscious about themselves. And so this is where I've settled on like a middle ground of like, charcoal button up shirt. But I think fashion matters on these calls. Like you want to dress like the same way you would if you were going to an office meeting. I mean, essentially from the waist up. I mean, you don't have to wear slippers. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I know sometimes I've worn pajama bottoms, but you can't see them. Mickey Mouse pajama bottoms. But joking aside, I know that I feel better when I do kind of do my hair, dress up a little bit, because it's part of your brand as well, isn't it? What you're bringing to the table.
Right. And let's say there is a big meeting or something or a lot of training. Like I will wear still like a complete professional clothing. I mean, I won't put on super fancy shoes, but I'll dress in a way that if I do have to get up and do something, it's not like, oh my goodness, he's wearing polka dots. Like you don't want to go that far, but it does matter. You feel better. You just simply feel better when you're on. And I don't like the virtual backgrounds. Like I
Mhm.
don't like fake backgrounds. That's my preference. Some people do it and I'm like, okay, fine. Or like the super blurry ones where you don't or the ones that are just like like your head disappears a little bit. Uh yeah, I'm not a fan of those. But I know some people use them. Yeah, those are I think that gets more in my personal preference.
And then I think some other things to just think about, isn't it, is your own body language. And if you're a coach and you like to make lots of notes, it's going to be pretty obvious if you're in a one-on-one session. And what might you want to discuss in the Design the Alliance in terms of what a session's going to look like. And I know for me, I've learned body language is really important because I do a lot of group sessions. And when I'm listening, I look really intense. And I remember somebody sending me a message. One of the mentors sent me a message once saying, "Are you okay?" And I realized how serious and intense my face was. So I have to catch myself and smile because I can look really serious when I'm listening. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's the term I heard that called is default face. Like we each have a default face when we're listening or like an audience. And I mean, anyone who does a lot of teaching or is in front of a lot of groups, you get really used to knowing everyone. You get used to looking at default faces, which is essentially the face that you have when you don't think anyone is really looking at you, but someone is looking at you. Everyone else is looking at you, like this kind of thing. It's helpful to know what your default face is. My default face too is intense. Almost everyone's default face is intense. Looks serious and unimpressed.
Yes.
Kind of mean. I don't know. It's very rare that like Amois has a very lovely default face, but it's very rare. I feel like people who have naturally, amazing default faces. It's something to work on. It really is. It's something to work on. Think about it. I think a lot of it's like, relaxing the space between your eyebrows. That's my key. If I try to relax that space, then I feel like the rest of my face follows. But you find your key. And what's nice about Zoom, though, is you can also see yourself, too. So you can see the face you're making when you're listening to other people. So it's kind of like looking in the mirror, which having done it for a long period of time, you actually see yourself start aging. It's a really fun thing. But you think about it, because like if you do, so that's in a couple of years now, everyone on Zoom is going to be, hey, I've been doing this for 3 years, and then maybe I should change up my profile, like my default profile picture, or maybe not. Maybe I just let it go for 5-10 years, and that's okay. So there's a lot of stuff like that. You'll get into it. I mean, I've been doing Zoom now. It's at least, or before that was Google. We use a couple of the video things. But I think they're all useful to see yourself. I really do, because you get to see how you show up. It's also really useful if you record Zoom sessions and watch it. That's even better, because you're seeing it not in real time. You can stop, you can pause. I don't like thinking about, other than like the eyebrow thing and the default face. I get the question a lot when coaches are asking, do you need to have what do you do about body language when you're listening as a coach? I don't. I think as long as you when you're coaching, when you are actively listening and being actively empathetic, like whatever you need to do to be actively empathetic, do that and trust that your face will follow. Your client will know that you're listening to them. I don't have like a specific other than the eyebrow thing.
And I think the only other thing I would add to that is not to assume that everybody wants Zoom coaching, even if you're working with people globally, because I think I've said this before and you and I have discussed it, that actually 90% of my coaching I do on the phone.
Yeah, me too. I like to be coached over the phone. I don't like Zoom. I don't like being coached on Zoom.
Yeah, I don't either, actually. And I've had clients say that to me. I remember I was working with a client for over a year. And she said, "Oh, everyone's trying Zoom." I'd never seen her. I'd never even seen her. Everyone's trying Zoom. She tried it once and said, "Let's go back to the phone," because she enjoyed lying down when she was being coached. She wanted to relax and not stare at herself.
Yeah. I like walking around. I like walking around when I coach. I like walking around when I'm being coached. I like having my coach's voice in my head with no visual. I really like that. I have a couple of specific coaching spots where I go to. It's fun.
Yeah, I have my coaching sofa.
Yeah, I usually sit out there and I'll grab some outside and grab some shade.
Yeah,